Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Thinking Bigger Than Money podcast. This month, I want to introduce a theme you may have heard me talk about before, and that is money history, your money history, and why it matters to spend time understanding your own history with money and how that shapes the way you think about it, feel about it, and act around money. One of my favorite quotes about money comes from the philosopher Jacob Needleman. He wrote a book called Money and the Meaning of Life. And in it, he says something like, "Everybody is weird about money." I love that line. What I take it to mean is that we all have some quirks, patterns, and emotional reactions when it comes to money. The way we think about money, the way we use it, the way we avoid it, all of that is shaped by the hundreds or even thousands of messages and voices we've absorbed about money over the course of our lives. Most of us have never received any sort of formal education about money growing up. Not how to think about it, not how to use it as a tool, and not certainly how to understand our emotional relationship with it. So, what we're kind of left with is all these little bits and pieces we've picked up along the way. Some of them are helpful, some of them probably not so helpful. And that's why I think it's really important and valuable to get curious about understanding our own money histories and where we come from with it. When we explore these types of questions with clients, we often reflect using certain questions like, what did you learn about money growing up in your household? How was money talked about, if it was talked about? Was it a source of stress or tension growing up? Was it associated with security or abundance? Do you feel like you learned anything explicitly, or are you still carrying lessons from that time without realizing it? I also hear people often say, I'm doing the opposite of what I grew up seeing happen with money in my household. So I often use a simple example that has nothing to do with money to illustrate my point around this. When I was a kid, my mother told me never to put the knives in the dishwasher. I never really understood why. I just followed the rule, and I still do it to this day. I think it has something to do with the knives getting dull, but I'm not really even sure, to be honest. But I just kind of follow the rule. It's a pretty benign example, but now think about how we might do something similar with money. Are there little rules or stories you carry around about how you should spend, save, or avoid money altogether? Things you do automatically without ever questioning where they came from. These are stories that tend to run on autopilot in our minds. And whether we like it or not, we all have money histories. They show up in the present as oversaving and not spending, which can limit our lives, as overspending and not saving, which can put us in a precarious situation, as being judgmental of how we might use money or how other people use money. They show up in avoidance, guilt, shame, and anxiety about how much we have, how much we don't have, or what we think we should be doing with it or not doing with it. So I want to leave you with a couple questions that I hope might help unlock some of this for you. First, what was a money decision you've made recently that's brought you a lot of joy? And joy doesn't have to feel like making more money. That doesn't make it a joyful decision. It can mean making a decision that felt really aligned with your values and supportive of the life that you want to live. And now the flip side. What was a money decision that you look back on recently and think, that wasn't such a wise choice for me? Why did you make it? Was it driven by fear, pressure, feel like you're needing to conform to something or an old narrative that you've never stopped to kind of question? I think questions like these open the door to much bigger and deeper conversations about our own money histories, which I think can be really, really important for us in terms of getting to a new place with money and feeling better about the money in our lives. One simple example people often mention when we talk about money histories is when I ask about their earliest memory of money, the tooth fairy often comes up. For many of us, this was our first real experience with money. If the tooth fairy visited your house, what did you do with that money if that's what the tooth fairy gave you? Did you save it? Did you spend it? Did you get a lesson about it? It's very present in our household right now. The tooth fairy is circling because my son, who is 6, is about to lose a tooth and he's starting to learn about money. I find myself thinking about how to help him develop a healthy, balanced relationship with it. Recently, he received $25 for a Christmas gift. And so we started small. We talked about what it means to have $25, what happens if you spend some of it or all of it, what choices that opens up when you go to the toy store, and what choices do you not have. And when I look at him and I see we're starting with someone who's has a blank slate around money. And then I think about myself or other adults and realize that we're not starting from blank slates at all. These old emotional stories and patterns and reactions show up really quickly. Understanding the what and the why can be helpful. But the bigger question is whether those patterns that we've learned over time are helping or inhibiting the way you use money in your life today. To me, that's the most important question in all of this. So I'm not a therapist, even though I'm married to one, but I do believe that simply raising these questions can unlock real awareness. Awareness that leads to more values-based decisions, decisions that feel grounded and aligned with what actually matters to you. And when I say good decisions, I'm not talking about strictly in terms of making or losing money. I'm talking about decisions that feel consistent with the life that you want to live. So I want to invite you to create a little space to think about how money shows up in your life, not just how much you have or how much you need or what you want to do with it, but how you actually think and feel about it. That's where the real value is. And there may be a real unlock there for you. So I'm putting in the notes some questions to help you think about that. I hope you'll check them out, and we'll see you next time.